Welcome to my diary. I'm Tatami. Here I talk about whatever I want to, and today I kind of want to continue our conversation on Biden, which, if you'll remember, left off with me just saying he's just a liar with just a shit ton of lies. At the time, I was just talking about the fact that we can't just be taking his word for shit and saying like Tara Reid was somebody who was untrustworthy or dishonest off the bat. If we're gonna hold the fact that so 10 years ago she couldn't pay her rent on time against her, we need to hold all these lies against this man who can't seem to tell the truth, but for some reason we're just gonna believe his word on this. But the things that really made me mad, if you'll remember, were his lies about the black community, which I found really pointed because these are things that are very fucking serious in our community. It's Martin Luther King Jr. is about as serious as you can get, a topic as you can get. So for somebody to lie about marching with MLK is pretty fucking bold, but Biden did it. He also lied about being arrested in apartheid South Africa and then talking with Nelson Mandela about it later as though it was some kind of crazy protest event. That shit never happened. He literally, they have had segregation and they made the white people go through one door and the black people go through another door, even though they were all U.S. representatives of the government. He made that sound like he was arrested. He was given a privilege, a white privilege, and he made it sound like he had fought for some sort of civil rights for black folks. It was some type of equality for black folks. He's lied about he during his little interview with Charlemagne the God. That's who we're talking about right now. Who I'm gonna give a few thoughts on him in a few seconds. But during the interview, at one point, he says, like, all Char's asking is like, so what are your plans for the black community? He's like, look at my record. I'll tell you something about his record. Go look at the crime bill of 1994 and how it's disproportionately impacted the black community, putting black people in jail, especially for longer sentences than our white counterparts for the same crime because of how this bill can be interpreted. I don't know what my kids are doing. But it disproportionately impacted us negatively. But he's like, he says, look at the record instead of saying something specific about a policy issue because he knows that no one's gonna fucking check up, especially a bunch of black people who are just taking this man at his word because they trust him because he's associated with Obama. Now, I do have my issues with Char bringing people on who he's clearly not ready to interview. And that's not just a he problem. That's everybody on the Breakfast Club. They consistently do this, where it just feels like it feels lazy because we're in a time where you don't even have to make your own opinion. Really, there are a shit ton of people making videos like this one, writing articles, think pieces, in which you could literally just go read a couple of those the night before, write out a few questions of things that seem iffy, specific questions on things that seem iffy, specific questions on things, and in that way you're a little more informed. So when someone's BSing to your face, you can really kind of just cut them off and fact check them, which Sharp is not able to do. He's not able to do that typically most of the time. I will admit I skipped a good portion of the interview right in the center because it just got to the point listening to Biden attempt to speak slang or like be down and like use what little Ebonics he knows. Y'all, it was turning into a cringe compilation. I just couldn't do it, so I skipped kind of towards the end and like wrapped that shit up because I was like, I'm not doing it. Hold on. So at any rate, that's just my complaint on the Breakfast Club. I think they're all pretty lazy when it comes to inviting really important people with really important issues that impact the black and other people of color's communities. I think they get really lazy, and so I think he could have done a better job, but I also think he did a decent job with things. For example, when Biden was like, you're not black if you're thinking about like voting for Trump or me, you're not black. I really did like that Charlemagne went ahead and was like, this is about the policies. I just want to know what you're going to do for black people. This has nothing to do with Trump. He's not doing, if you're not doing anything for black people and he's not doing anything for black people, we just want to fucking know. Like, we just want to fucking know. And, so it's clear it just went straight over his head. He was looking for it. Basically, he feels entitled. He feels pretty entitled to the black vote because he understands that a lot of people just don't realize that he's been chronically lying to their faces. They don't realize that he's a racist himself who has associated and worked with racists and helped pass racist laws continuously throughout his career. And literally, I think it just shows the level of disconnect a lot of people have, that they're kind of just willing to overlook this, or they're not even willing to call it out. I'm glad he did this. I'm glad that he showed himself, because all the other things that I was saying, they're things that could slip through the cracks. You know, him just blurting out on national television that he was arrested with Mandela could easily fall through the cracks if someone doesn't watch that particular news station, or stumble on that video on YouTube. But something like this, where he does it so blatantly and obviously in a space meant for Black people, people of color, directed towards that culture, I think it was wonderful. I think it's great that he was able to go out there and kind of show his ass for what it is. But the sad part is like, see a lot of people in the comments of the Breakfast Club when I was going through, they were upvoting a lot of weird shit about like voting for Trump instead. And I want to reiterate to people that you don't actually have to give your vote to either of those people, that there are other options. There are other options. One, you could just hold your vote hostage and just not give it to anybody, not show up. I've done that for a good portion of my life. Two, you could also vote Green or any other third party. I would hope Green, if you're interested in serious policies, especially this year. Howie Hawkins, as far as I remember, said he was pro reparations. He's running with a Black woman who's his vice president, or who he wants to be his vice president, and she's actually somebody who's been active in the community, who has very relatable viewpoints that I can get behind, viewpoints that are my own. Viewpoints that are my own. She's not a Kamala Harris or what is her name, Stacey Abrams. She's not wishy-washy. There's no history of her pandering for anything. And I think it's important to look towards that, because Biden is also using Black women, using women in general, but using Black women specifically, Stacey Abrams and Kamala Harris, to continue to legitimize himself to the Black community in a way that's just really gross. I mean, I'm not sure if you saw, but I saw last week when he invited Stacey Abrams onto a major news network, and the host was like, are you trying to say something with her being here? Like, implying he was gonna announce her as VP. Stacey Abrams there with a big-ass grin on her face like, oh. And then he can't say that he just brought her on to be his token Black person to show he has Black people in his crew. So then he just starts rambling about some shit she did 2 years ago with voter suppression or something like that. And you could see on her face, as it started to click, that she was just being used. She was just this token Black person who was brought onto national television so that Biden could continue to associate himself with Black people. It's the same with Kamala Harris trying desperately to be his VP. He will parade her around. He will have her make announcements about his policies and all this stuff. But he's probably not going to choose either Black person. Why? Because he feels like it's in the bag. His statement about, oh, if you have to choose blah blah blah, you're not even Black. I mean, honestly, if you're gonna choose if you can't decide between a racist and racist light, are you even Black? Like, excuse me. It's clear. First off, that he thinks he successfully buried his past, his segregationist past, his racist past, his racist associates. Two, the fact that he just feels so owed, right? He feels like he can say shit like that because he feels like basically Black people better step in line because Trump is just so much bad and he hates you. But I mean, Trump is yelling that he hates me, but your actions show me you hate me. And further, I think somebody was pretty astute when they noted that he gets kind of bitter about Black issues. The same way he gets bitter about millennial issues, and he starts getting like, what do millennials want? What do they want? He does the same with Black people, kind of. It's clear he sees that there's some issues that need to be fixed, but in his mind, it's like, can we just get this over with? It's not like, wow, you all are suffering from this extreme issue that is being perpetuated beyond your control into your communities and holding you back. We need to fix this because that's the American thing to do. In his mind, it's just like He just wants everything to go back to 2008. He wants it to just be chilled, be kosher. Everybody to just, they're not doing the greatest, but they're not doing the worst either. And that's kind of the middle ground he wants. He doesn't want America to progress. He doesn't want America to become a powerhouse. He doesn't want all these other things. He wants to go back in time to a time when we could still uphold the bluff that our country was put together and that our contracts between the states and the federal government and any of it made sense. And it's just sad. It's just sad because, first off, we can't go back in time. We've already had Trump. People already know that the whole thing is iffy. That he's exposed so many leaks in the system with the presidency, right? With the contract we have with the federal government, and the fact that states are asking for help during a chaos situation, which all the other developed countries managed to handle efficiently and quickly, paid everybody to stay home, got it together, and now they're reopening. But we can't even rely on that because our government believes not that the money is tax money, but they'll tell us that it's government money now. It's government money, as though the money just appeared in their coffers all by itself with nobody paying into it. It's just the federal government's money only, and we need to save it for ourselves because and the rhetoric has absolutely seeped into people's minds, because I do see people consistently being like, oh, well, you guys, Democrats want us to just sit back and leech off of government money. No, that's your money, honey. That's tax money that you paid in through your check specifically for a chaos situation like a pandemic. Specifically for a situation beyond everyone's control, like a hurricane, like the dams breaking somewhere and everybody having to go out. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of shit you're paying in for the emergency, for the moment where you could die, or you're gonna die, or you somebody has died, and the government steps in because this situation is so crazy, so chaotic, so terrible that indeed we need to come together and put the whole weight of the United States behind it. I just don't understand how we're getting to this place where, first off, we think that this money isn't something we're entitled to, for it to be spent on Americans. They've beat us over the head so hard, y'all, so hard. But at any rate, this was my reminder, my friendly reminder, that you can vote green, that you don't have to vote for Biden, you don't have to vote for Trump. It don't mean you have to vote for either one of them. You can dismiss both races. That is totally within your right to do so. And I highly encourage you to vote for the Green Party if that's something that you can get into, especially if the planet is something you care about, if reparations is something you care about, if police reform is something you care about, if Medicare for all is something you care about, and if eco-socialism is something that interests you, if the nuclear arms race is something that bothers you, things that basically no one else is really talking about. And to be frank, Biden confirmed yet again that he has no fucking policies. Not a damn one. Char tried to ask several times what he was going to do for the Black community. He mentioned some kind of manifesto, which I was like, nowhere in your brain does the manifesto for Black Americans sound bad in your brain to say. What? But I'm still lost as to what those things are, and I haven't seen one recap where somebody can legitimately explain what those things are, that policies he's going to do for everybody, policies he's going to do specifically for Black people, policies he's going to do. I don't know. He doesn't have any policies. His policy is Trump is such a bad guy that it should be a no-brainer that you pick me because I'm me. No, I don't have any plans. No, I don't have anything else to say. It's me. Follow me. Follow me into the earth. It's absurd. I'm probably going to have more to say on Biden later. I'm sure he's just going to keep doing shit that makes me upset. But it is what it is. And it makes me more upset that, it makes me more upset because it's like Trump, people are pretty aware. But Biden, for whatever reason, it's just got to be his association with Obama. Biden, for whatever reason, people just lose their shit and stop paying attention to what is really clearly in front of them. So I understand, we obviously need to get Trump out. He's managed to run this country into the ground in ways I could have never planned. And to think last year at the end of the year, I was thinking, oh my gosh, he's made it through without totally ruining the whole country. Like, I was hoping he'd be impeached, but I also kind of knew he wouldn't be. So I was like, maybe we might make it through these last few months. And here we are, 100,000 Americans dead. He definitely needs to get out, but Biden, I can say I think he would have handled the pandemic better. But other than that, I'm just very confused as to what exactly Biden, like, is that the low bar? Is not killing 100,000 Americans? Is that the bar I'm setting the presidency at? Is that I think he would have done better? But I also think Bush would have done better. I also think Obama would have done better. I think Clinton would have done better. I think any of our ex-presidents would have done way better at this pandemic situation, because at least they would have been thinking about their legacy and how it would be tarnished with the death of 100,000 Americans on their hands. At least they would think about their ego and how people would think less of them for not listening to the scientists, that I know that they would be driven by something. It wouldn't have been the love of America and trying to keep Americans alive. It would have been trying to keep their legacy alive. But Trump doesn't think that far ahead, and he doesn't have that much critical thinking. And so and you can tell by when he'll post tweets like, it's illegal to have mail-in ballots, when we've all been doing it for decades. Like, plenty of states have been doing it. It just shows he has no interest in knowing, he has no interest in learning, he has no interest in doing anything beyond following the gut instinct of the same gut instinct that bankrupted multiple companies. That's what's leading America right now. So they're both trash. And it doesn't shock me that Biden went on to the Breakfast Club and showed his old ass. And it's sad to me that it might drive people to Trump, but I hope people realize that you don't have to just choose the two options, the two pills that the media is handing you. Choose this one or this one, the red pill or the blue pill. Choose the green pill. Just stop taking pills from the media and the government. How about that? Choose a different. Go make your own herbal supplement in the backyard. How about that? Stop just taking this rhetoric that these are your only choices and you have to choose it, because if you don't choose me, you're gonna get this, and like basically cracking a whip over your head and saying like you have to choose me, because it's just disrespectful. The way they feel entitled to the black vote, even though they don't think about black people other than election year, it's disgusting. It's just sad. All right, that's what I'm going to say about Biden for today. But we'll probably be back, like I said. He just keeps saying shit to piss me off. He just says it. It's just word vomit at this point. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I'll see you next time.